All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am joined today by members of the Fayetteville City Council, Councilman Johnny Dawkins, Councilmember Yvonne Kinston, and Councilmember Shaquilla Ingram, as well as members of our community, Dr. Tony Hare and Mr. Mark Sweesy. We thank you for joining us today. And first and foremost, we would like to wish all the citizens of Fayetteville a happy and a safe holiday season. But today we're here for an important message to our community, to let them know that the City Council has made tremendous efforts in creating a safe environment. You know, throughout our nation and throughout the state, we have seen an uptick in violence and gun violence. And today we would like to announce a Save Our City initiative, which will be a collaborative effort between the City of Fayetteville and law enforcement, as well as community leaders, faith leaders, and you, the citizens. And so I wanted to share a few points from that, some things that the City Council has been working on and doing, and things that are to come. Basically, I believe that this breaks down into twofold. One is prevention and policing. Just the other day in a recent meeting, the City Council appropriated over $800,000 to go toward public safety measures, invested in technology, micro grants to community programs who are dealing with at-risk situations to mitigate violence, $100,000 camera enhancement system that will allow our software at the city to connect with private citizens who have security systems and cameras, as well as $150,000 allocation for a contractor to analyze our crime statistics and to let us know how to best mitigate future problems. Also, we've invested in gunshot detection systems, which we will deploy around the city to be able to respond effectively and quickly when there's an incident. And also, we're revamping and increasing our Crime Stoppers program to make it easy and efficient and confidential for citizens to tell us and to partner with us when reporting incidents in their community. From the preventative side, I think this is the most important side where we will really see the return of our investment. That will include things like investing in youth programs early on to mitigate and teach our young people how to deal with conflict without using violence. Working with our school system and our current sheriff department and others, resource officers, to make sure that the citizens and these children or our students and our kids that live in the Fayetteville area have a relationship with law enforcement, which plays into the community policing. Also investing in positive programs and initiatives. Also, it is critical that we work with our other governmental partners. Chief Law Enforcement Officer in the county is our district attorney, Attorney Billy West. In his office, the judges, our probation and parole departments. This will take a collective effort from the government with our county officials as well. We know that a lot of this violence is tied to sometimes narcotics, which are fueled by addiction and other factors, and so we'll need our county partners to really work with us and being proactive with investment in those areas as well. And also, we have to know that we have to make it easier for those who have paid their debt to society to transition back in our community in a peaceful, prosperous way that adds to the community as they transition back. And we're working with the district attorney collaboratively, as well as with County Commission Chairman Evans on the expungement. Over 1,000 citizens have been expunged, records have been expunged, and there are 2 clinics coming up this month, which we can provide information for that at a later time. At the end of the day, all of this only works with our citizens, with the community. Wanted to also ask, and this is being looked into, I'll be asking the City Council to consider establishing some type of a grant program for Ring doorbell systems or doorbell cameras. We know that safety should not depend on the fluency or the zip code that you live in. So if there's a way that we can have as many citizens participate and be our eyes and ears in the community, I think that helps our Chief of Police and her team. And also I was remiss not to mention the Chief of Police, Gina Hawkins, who's a critical part in her department with making sure that we protect and serve our community in a valuable way. Also joined by Council Members Hare and Councilmember Larry Wright. So with this time, I will turn this over. I will allow the members of the community to speak for just a moment. And also, I'd like to say this. We have a meeting scheduled on the 2nd of December with the district attorney and other judicial officials. But mainly, I would like to also talk to some of the families. Thanksgiving is a time where we have families, and unfortunately, those who have been impacted by this very sensitive subject will really have a tough time this weekend, and we ask for the thoughts and prayers for those. But with that, I'll give way to Dr. Tony Hare, who works in the at-risk department with our youth, to share just a few moments about himself and his agency. Dr. Hare.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here today, to be a part of the initiative. As the mayor said, I'm Dr. Tony Hare, been here in Fayetteville, North Carolina for 16 years, and we own a company called CREP Behavioral Health. I'm in the field of mental and behavioral health. I was appointed by Governor Cooper to the Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Commission in 2017, where I still hold the chair of the Rules Committee for the commission. In our community here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I was born and raised on the Murchison Road. We have a very prosperous community, a community that gives birth to leaders. One of the biggest issues or concerns that we have with my company is how people think. And so the objective is to get into the minds of people, because we can legislate a lot of things, but we can't legislate the heart. We have to look and focus on the mind. How do people think? And we must get parents involved. And it is my hope that we will get parents involved with their youth, because they actually have more influence than any of us standing up here today. And we need our parents involved. We need aunts, we need uncles, we need cousins who are on the right track to invest in our youth. We reduce crime by changing how people think. We are where we are because of how we think, and we will become whatever it is that we will become because of how we think. So I'm looking forward to being a part of the initiative, a part of being one of the ones, just one of the ones, who puts a focus on our community and investing in our youth and changing their mindset.
Thank you, Dr. Hare. And now I'll turn this over to Mr. Mark Sweesy, member of the community grassroots movement that concentrates on at-risk youth.
How's everybody doing? One of the main things I want to say is thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I have a huge passion for our community, sharing my past and being born and raised like Dr. Tony Hare on Murchison Road. I have a passion to see change in the community. And one of the main things that's been happening lately with me is not getting enough sleep because of the crime that's been happening in the neighborhood and around the community. And lately, I've been talking to many people, taking my initiative to go to different areas around the neighborhoods and high crime areas to talk to people who may have been incarcerated or may have had a past of dealing with the law and dealing with violence, and talking to them about change in the community. And one of the main things that we've been talking about is getting them more involved. Getting back to the mindset of it takes a village to raise a kid. Where neighbors knew who the kids, everybody in the neighborhood, they knew the police officers, knew everyone, and we want to get back to that mindset of talking to everyone in the community and getting everyone involved. One example of getting someone involved is Dads on Duty. It started in Louisiana. That has been an example of change in the school system, where dads would come to the school and talk to the kids. There was fights every day, and ever since they came to school, the fights have decreased, and some eliminated in most of the schools. So we want to get everyone back involved. And like Dr. Tony here talked about, getting the parents involved, because we can talk about many things around the community, get them and put strategies and put things in place, but it takes, when they go back home, they have to go back home to these parents, go back to these caregivers. So we want to get them more involved. And also just getting the people in the community. I have talked to some ex-gang members and different people around the community that want to get involved, but we want to have to bridge that gap, because we know it takes the whole community. It takes a village to see change in the community. So we want to get on point with everyone. And also I work for CREP and also the vice president of LCM, Life Change and Mentoring. So we want to just get more involved and hands-on and see change in the community. Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Mr. Sweesy, Dr. Hare. And also, I would like to give a moment for Chief Hawkins to share.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, leaders. First of all, thank you, Mayor, for having this session. The most important thing to share with the community is communication. All the things that we hear right now are opportunities where members of the community are looking to be a part of it. So we know homicides are up. We know violent crime is increased in certain communities. But at the same time, we've had successes throughout the years with decreasing our overall crime. And that's only dedicated from the community. Community getting involved, community being aware. That's where the efforts. Just like Dr. Hare and Mrs. Sweesy, we have one of the initiatives that we're approved of is a community violence reduction advocate. These are people who are already in the community who can go reach out, that we're going to have an opportunity to put a request for a proposal for come and work in doing that. So that's awesome. We already have that aspect. We're already engaged in partnerships and seeing what information, how can we get more camera systems out there to talk. Crime Stoppers is our #1 advocate for sharing information on how we can address the issues in our community. The last thing we want is anyone to feel like they're helpless, but we want you to be empowered. You can do it anonymously. Even if you don't know of a crime, you can also provide information of tips. You do not have to give your name. The number is accessible. You can also text it to us. Just share the information so we can work collaboratively with the community and partner with different methods to be able to keep our community safe the way Fayetteville should, as we are the can-do city. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hawkins. Well, thank you for joining us today, to fellow council members for your dedication to public safety in our community. Thank you, Chief, and the police department for your efforts. Thank you, Dr. Hare, and thank you, Mark, for what you all are doing. With that, we'll open up for any questions that you may have.
Mr. Mayor, can you talk a little bit more about, you said a gunshot detector? How does that work?
So basically, Chief could speak to the specifics, but the overall premise of it is there's technology that will be able to locate within a very tight radius, a very targeted area when a gunshot detects, and somehow that will communicate that to officers that will work in conjunction with, hopefully, with our technology, our cameras, to be able to respond in a quick way. So did I leave anything out on that?
That's exactly what it is, sir.
Okay.
We're putting an RFP out actually coming out soon.
All right.
And I wanted to talk to you about the community involvement a little bit. Takes off that sound like mumbles here.
Yes, sir.
You recently had a contest to get the community involved, and I've seen the videos of the 3 winners. Talk about that project, reaching out to the community to say, hey, what do you see? And how important is the community's voice in solving these issues?
Extremely important. First of all, it actually started with the council. I made a request to the council, hey, can you help us create the message to the community of how to stop the violence? So they initiated videos on Stop the Violence, and then we pushed it out for the community to be creative on their own, and we had winners. So what it did was, one, an incentive. Hey, I might be able to win a dollar amount, but it also educated them and also made awareness of how can we decrease violence, gun violence, specifically in the community, and it expanded it on. So hopefully we can have it again in the next year, but it was very successful.
I think second place one was really touching, where the individual, the child,
yes,
was talking about this. This is from the community's perspective.
Totally from the community's perspective.
Talk about that, because I think we all look at solving these issues by police and psychologists and from that perspective, but as you said, it is how people think. And so the community has to talk about this.
Absolutely.
So what are we doing to generate that conversation, I guess, is
So the many forums that we have, the many opportunities like this, the mayor's pushed this out so we can begin talking. Dr. Hare, Mr. Sweesy, and all council members are accessible to the community to say, what is the input that you want? We have Citizens Police Academy. We have forums where we get feedback. I just hosted in October a community violent crime solutions summit where we brought in partners from across the community to say, how can we hear from our residents? So when we pushed out this contest, we wanted their perspective or their view. It could have been funny, serious, but it truly brought different perspectives from their point of view. And we had the communities actually involved in judging it. It was not a police department judging who the winners were to try to keep it fair and consistent, the innovation of it. So it was very successful. And the community, every community in this nation is different. City of Fayetteville, Cumberland County is absolutely, totally different than any other city in our community. We have to decide what we will stand for, what we are. We are the can-do city. What we are, the esprit de corps. We are the nation, the city where the largest installation exists. You know, we do it a lot differently than any other community.
My last question, Mr. Mayor. You and I had a discussion about citizens reaching out to us who have been impacted, victims.
Yeah.
Chris Miller comes to mind, whose daughter was 16 and
Right.
killed by a stray bullet, you know, on Stamford Road. And his despair was expressed by the community not reaching out and talking. We have a lot of victims
Right.
here. How do we reach out, and how do we show these folks that we do care,
Yeah.
and we're doing things?
Absolutely. Mr. Miller, I had a very, very impactful conversation with him, and he agreed to do whatever he could do to help push the message. But at the end of the day, statistics and numbers are something, but each one of those statistics represent a name and a family member of somebody. And we have to have the community involved with the solution. There's nothing, no law that the city council can pass. We can't arrest our way out of the problem. Some people will not get it with prevention, but we have to have the community involved, and people like Mr. Miller will be a tremendous asset to this effort. All right, any other questions? All right, with that, we thank you guys for joining us. We pray that everyone has a happy and safe holiday.
Good job. Well done.